Welcome to the Let's Talk AI Digital Conference. I'm Stephanie Wong.
And I'm Mark Merchandani. We're developer advocates at Google, and we'll be your hosts as we talk AI. You'll be experiencing a day of AI experiential learning and strategy building, no matter where you are in the world or in your business. Hey, Stephanie, did you know that a recent Harvard Business Review survey found that 3/4 of companies believe that AI will transform their companies in the next 3 years?
I didn't, but it's definitely a hot topic, and we hear that from customers all the time. That's why today we'll be covering a whole slew of topics related to AI, and of course to data, which is a foundational part of any AI strategy. We'll kick the morning off with a keynote from Google Cloud leaders like CEO Diane Greene, VP of Engineering Andrew Moore, and Director of Product Management Rajan Sheth.
Then you'll be able to choose from 3 really practical tracks with sessions on data, AI, and IoT. You'll get deep into strategy and tools and get to see some really cool demos as well.
The keynote that you're going to see today is exclusive content from a private event last week in beautiful sunny San Francisco. We wanted you to take those learnings and share those with you all today. So, Mark, as I mentioned, AI is already a huge topic of conversation among business leaders today. Why are we talking AI at Google Cloud, and why did we put this conference on last week?
Yep, it's a buzzy topic, but we want to highlight how practical it is to use, and that's why we put on this whole event. You're going to hear stories from enterprises in leading industries like healthcare, retail, and state government. Our goal at the conference and here today is to truly talk about AI and not just about the hype.
Yeah, we've all been talking about AI for decades now, but something seems different now about moving past the hype.
Well, it's interesting because an MIT report released last year painted a picture of some of this hype. In its survey, almost 3,000 executives found that about 85% of those believe that AI is going to allow their companies to obtain or sustain a competitive advantage. But only 1 in 5 companies had actually incorporated AI into processes or products in their companies. It also found that less than 39% of all companies have an AI strategy in place. So there's a lot of will to incorporate AI, which is why we're talking about it right now.
And that seems about more than just the belief. It's about the AI tools. Companies are looking for tools that can help jumpstart their AI journeys, whether they have in-house AI expertise or have developers focus on application logic and need AI tools that are more out of the box. Google Cloud has a spectrum of AI tools that supports a variety of these landscapes.
It's about the data, too. AI isn't possible without large volumes of relevant business data, regardless of where you are in your journey. Organizations vary. From having a large amount of untapped data, and they're looking to clean it up, transform their data into a state that supports deeper analysis, to those with more structured analysis-ready data that are doing traditional statistical, historical analyses, but are looking to move more into predictive analysis and AI. Google Cloud has a platform of services and products to help you, regardless of where you are in your data journey.
Yes. So today we want you to walk away feeling equipped with an action plan to incorporate data and AI solutions into your business right now.
What you'll see in a bit is Diane Greene's keynote on an AI opportunity and AI evolution, a keynote by our product management on applied AI, then learnings from some of our customers who are doing amazing things in the AI space. Then you can switch between 3 separate tracks: data and analysis, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things. Each track will cover multiple sessions like preparing data for ML, TPUs for developers, building conversational chatbots with Dialogflow, IoT at the edge, and predictive maintenance.
All tracks are for people who are practitioners, people who want to get into the weeds of learning about building tools into their companies and processes. And the other tip I have is that if you are trying to find the best place to get started with AI in your business, but haven't started yet, you might want to consider starting with the data track. Every good AI strategy starts with a good data strategy. If you already have a strong data strategy, then the AI track is perfect for you to jump into and to start to learn about the tools to customize AI solutions for you.
Now, while I'm super excited for the keynotes and the breakout sessions, what else can we share from last week's conference?
Mark, why don't you tell them? We were both there, remember? You were busy playing around with all the interactive demos and chowing down at the cafe.
Oh, right. How can I forget? The live demos.
Exactly, and who doesn't love demos? Let's dive into that a bit, actually. What blew me away with this event was the focus on specific industry applications of AI. Not only did we see industry-leading customers speak on how they were able to implement AI into their companies, you will today as well.
On top of that, you'll learn about how your developers can get started with AI with minimal ML expertise through some of our tools like AutoML to do intelligence from images and videos, and Dialogflow to build chatbots. Both Google and our customers did demos of how they're using these today.
See, These are the kind of use cases that are truly out of the box, and I think they'll give you some amazing inspiration for how you can fit it into your landscape. At Google Cloud, AI encompasses everything from AI building blocks like machine learning APIs that allow developers to easily infuse AI into applications, even with limited data science experience, to the industry-specific solutions that we just talked about.
And of course, you'll be learning about the tools and platforms on Google Cloud that enable you to do so, from education and training to Quick Labs, Coursera, and so much more.
Hey, wait, that's a great point to touch on. One amazing thing we have to offer for all our viewers and registrants today are 30 credits to Quick Labs, our interactive online learning platform to help you discover Google Cloud's leading big data and AI tools, including BigQuery, Bigtable, Cloud Data Proc, and Cloud Natural Language.
Enroll in the baseline Data ML AI Quest at no charge, then get an additional 30 credits to continue learning after you complete it. That way, you can get your hands-on labs and experience our products firsthand. You'll also be receiving complimentary courses on Coursera as a follow-up.
In just a moment, our live Q&A will open, so you can join the conversation and get answers to your questions.
Great. So my first question is, how do I submit a question?
Good question. Let's take a moment to explore the platform. By clicking the Schedule tab at the left-hand side of the page, you can view the full schedule by region. If you want to navigate to a different region's schedule, just click on a different region at the top of the page or the region dropdown at the header. The Agenda tab will display the full schedule, complete details for all 12 sessions in all 3 tracks, including abstracts, start times, and speaker details so you can plan your day. You can then choose between each track. After selecting a track, you can click the Watch Live link to jump into the current session.
I see. So back to how to ask a question. You'll see on the left-hand side a Q icon. Click on the icon and enter your questions here at any time during the event, and we'll do our very best to answer them. And here's the cool thing. Anyone in the community can reply to your questions, answer them, and like them as well. Feel free to jump into the conversation and even answer other people's questions.
And here's a bonus. On the left, you'll see an icon of a piano. This is an AI duet demo that lets you play a duet with the computer. So to play, just click the keyboard or use your computer keys. It uses TensorFlow, Tone.js, and tools from the Magenta project. The open source code is available on GitHub.
Now we have a special guest here in the studio. Justin Lawyer is the PM lead for the Cloud AI platform. Welcome, Justin.
Thanks for having me.
So I'd love to start by maybe asking you for an explanation of our AI platform here.
Very good question. Well, the AI platform is essentially everything that you need to be able to create your own machine learning models with your own data on Google. So typically what that means for our customers is some sort of a notebook environment, we typically like Data Lab, which is a managed notebook experience. Also, many customers struggle with managing their own infrastructure, so we have the ML engine, which makes it really, really easy for us to spin up the machines for somebody to do their training. They just give us the model and they point us to their data and we do that for them, and they only pay for what they use. And then the last bit is some customers like to have direct control, and so we have a really easy way to grab their VM images with all the accelerators they want, with all of the packages pre-installed that they would typically use. So all the machine learning frameworks, all of the drivers, everything else they might need.
So, you work with these customers all the time. You talk to a bunch of different people. What are some of the biggest challenges you find facing data scientists and chief data science officers?
Great question. There are really 3 main challenges that we keep hearing about over and over again. The first is just there's a talent gap. There's just not enough data scientists in the world. It's a fairly young field and it's really blossoming right now, but we just can't get enough training from the universities right now in the field. So the question is how do we superpower them so that they can get 10 times the impact in the organizations, because they can't do 10 times the hiring yet. The other part is ML is typically hard to productionize. Some of our customers say a model is trained in 3 weeks, but then it takes them 9 months to get into production. That's not really acceptable. Also, we hear that only 60% of the models actually get into production, 40% just never make it. So how do we actually improve that productionization process? And the third topic we often hear is the real world is not all on cloud or all on-prem. It's really hybrid. It's really everywhere. So how do we work better in this hybrid environment where the right jobs get in the right location?
So going back to the audience and the users, which you mentioned, we have a lot of stakeholders in machine learning, like data scientists, data engineers, developers, ML engineers, business developers, and analysts. What are some of their challenges?
There's a number. So the first one is always like, how do I get started? So part of that, I always like to tell people, start with the business problem. Get educated about the domain that you're trying to solve. Really understand what's the big impact if you solve that problem. With that then is, okay, what kind of algorithm is appropriate to solve that problem, and off you go. With that, you also have to understand, okay, what data do I need to be able to do my job? Where do I get it? Is it clean? How do I understand it? Do I have the labels to be able to do the training, etc.? And I always tell people to try to reuse rather than create from scratch, and so that's always in the getting started portion. Once they get started, then comes like what I call the training and insight cycle. That's where they're sitting there and they're doing features, and they're training a model, they're experimenting with a different model, doing a different feature, and then trying to figure out what works best. And with that, they need to be able to do rapid experimentation. Sometimes that's a challenge, and so they need to learn how to do that properly in their environment. With that, it's also important for them to understand why are they getting the results they're getting. So how is understandability a really important part of that process? Which also begs the question of, in certain kinds of models, about fairness. How do you know that the results you're getting is something that's ethically fair for what you're trying to do? Little biases can creep in based on the actual data, and it's important to be aware of that and know how to search for that. The last big challenge is always the productionization problem. We'll talk more about that later, but that's the last question that always comes in.
So that's a lot of challenges for people. And I know that last week you announced some pretty cool stuff. Why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the recent announcements?
Sure. Really, and to give context for this, because we've been hearing so much about problems around collaboration, around productionization, and this hybrid environment, we really decided we really need to tackle that head on and meet that need in the market. So what we've launched are two big products. One is what we're calling the AI Hub. Think of it like one-stop shop to find everything you need to do your job. So it's a great collaboration tool within your organization, so each team can share their work. Other teams can find it, reuse it, modify it, and then deploy it wherever they want, whether it's on GCP or on-prem. And we're also including as many good samples as we can to help people get started, and to ease that getting started process. In addition, we've got our Kubeflow Pipelines project. That's an open source project, and Pipelines is a new feature within that that it makes it really easy to author and publish and deploy and manage these end-to-end ML workflows, no matter where they might need to reside, as long as it's on a Kubernetes cluster. So that can be on GKE, or it can be on your on-prem data site. And we do all the orchestration for you, so you don't have to deal with that. And it allows rapid experimentation, both for the features and for the model training itself. The good news is, because it's open source, it can go anywhere you want, and there's no lock-in. So we feel that's a really big win for our customers.
Yeah, I think it makes ML and AI a lot more approachable for a huge number of users. And when we were talking earlier, you mentioned that only 60% of the models built get into production, and that does seem like a large waste of resources and time. So how is your team trying to address this?
Very good question. So the way we're trying to do that is threefold. First of all, it's really important to do collaboration. What we found is that AI is really a team sport. So you have to have the data scientist working with the domain expert, working with the pipeline engineer, working with the application developer. The build a model and throw over to the fence model doesn't really work, because then nothing quite works in production the way you thought it did, and that's where the problems arise. So we really want to make sure that teams are working together. That's why we've got the hub, to encourage that collaboration so everything's transparent, and each team can work on their portion of the pipeline. The way that we do that is we make each portion modular via containers. So you, as a data scientist, might be able to create a great model in a notebook, and then publish and package that and put that in the hub so that the pipeline engineer can grab it and just push it into production and get it working. And by doing that, you're able to really speed up the productionization process, because you're developing in a production-friendly environment just from the beginning. The other way we're trying to tackle this is by creating out-of-the-box algorithms that we know already work for certain kinds of use cases that you can easily just grab off the shelf and apply it to your data. No harm, no foul. And we also want to make templates for these end-to-end pipelines so that you can grab the right resources and not have to know all the details, because they're already pre-configured for image classification or recommendations or things like that, and you know it's going to work in the production environment.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Justin, for coming in and sharing these really awesome insights about machine learning and how people can use it.
Glad to come.